Hello and welcome everyone to Hot Date with ACP authors and my guest today. And how did I get so lucky and how did we get so lucky? We have today Katarina Wallentin here as my guest. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. And Katarina, I know, there are so many questions to ask you, but you are writing books, you're an ACP author, you also help Dana a lot with the books and bring them out. So what is that passion and this love about books and writing? What inspires you?
Wow. Well, it's a great question. And the funny part is I've always loved books. And when I was a kid, I was a quite different kid and I wasn't really functioning like anyone else. And I read a lot of books. I literally finished a whole library, all the kids section very quickly. And then the librarian showed me, oh, we have this other section here with science fiction and things. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I got there and I remember that feeling of starting, I think it was like an Isaac Asimov book or something. I pulled that out and I'm like, wow, here's a whole new world. And here's a whole shelf of books by him and like the joy. And I would lay at night, one of my absolute favorite books were, I never remember what it's called it's Tolkien's, the whole series of Tolkien, like Hobbit and the Ring and all that. And I would lay at night in my room and I would like ask the universe and God or whoever that there would actually be a world like that, because it would be so much more fun to be in that world. So for me, books and stories in books and films made out of stories in books, like all of that, I love it. There's something that is so nurturing, so fun, and such a contribution and an exploration. It's like an adventure. All in general, I find books to be adventures you go on. And it goes for all books, even books that are about personal development or books that are scientific and published. I just really love them.
You open a new world, right? You enter
A new
a
world.
new reality, a new world. So, and when did that happen that you started, this love of the books, but when does it start that you started writing and coming up with ideas of writing?
Well, I've been writing ever since I was a kid. I remember I got this first computer, like an Mac computer, when they were still like tiny like this. And I wrote this book about how Christmas was lost. And I think the whole idea was that there was this little piece of toffee that was stuck between the pages, so they couldn't find Christmas. It was like a whole story that I wrote in that. And that's also how I learned to like write on a computer, literally, like how you move things. So I've been writing ever since then. I always wrote through school. I've been writing stories and different things. And I also had a favorite author who wrote books about teenagers. They were called Kiss and a Hug. They were very big in Swedish. Puss och kram, if you're Swedish. And I wrote to him and I said, look, I really, really would like to become an author. And I wrote this long letter to him, or a nurse. I wasn't sure if it was going to be author or nurse. And I got such a kind letter back. Like that was the time when you still sent letters. And I got this long letter back from him where he wrote about what it was like to be an author. There was kind of a lonely job. And he said, I think you would be a great author, but nurse is also a good job. And I still remember that. But I remember like that it really has been a desire of mine since I was a kid. And so I've been writing ever since. And then when actually not really until I started to use the Access Consciousness tools, did I actualize this. Like it was kind of like a dream that I want to be an author, but that's just a child's dream. And how could I ever be something like that? And then when I started to use the tools, a lot of things started to move that I was only thinking was dreams, but they were actually, attainable. And even the book that we were going to talk about, this book today,
Exactly.
Clara and the Climate Changer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even that book, you're asking very good questions, but even that book came about, like I wrote that when my daughter was, I think 6-7 years old, and she's 17 now. And I wrote that a long time ago. I actually sent it to a lot of publishing companies and I got back refusal emails that said, this book is way too controversial to publish. We
Oh,
cannot publish something like this. And the book is really about a climate change, or it's about how you can change the climate. And the heroine is this young girl who, you know, talks to all the world leaders about changing the world. But several of these refusal was based on, this is way too like provocative and nobody can hear this. And then time went by and I forgot that and I started to do other things. And a few years ago, my mom got sick in cancer,
mhm.
and she is passed now. But during that last time, we talked more and more and more. And one day she said to me, look, that story you wrote about Clara and the climate changer, I really think you should publish that. I think that you should pick that up and publish it. So I took that story and I translated it to English, because since I move way more globally than just in Sweden, and I
It
found
was
an
written
illustrator.
first in Swedish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was written first in Swedish, and then I translated it to English and played with it some more, added some things. I found an illustrator. I didn't want a very cute illustrator. I wanted somebody who has like some kind of oomph. So if you look at this,
Yeah.
it's like she's an amazing illustrator. Her name is Rosir Cuso,
Mhm.
and she lives, I think, in Madrid. Um, she took the story and put it, like, made it come about in pictures, which was amazing to me. I remember getting the first ones and like, wow, this is exactly how I would have liked to illustrate this. So, and then I published that book, and my mom had time to see it before she passed, and I was so grateful because I was an author.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow, finally I'm an author. And now I
it
have a few
is.
books out, but at that time I was like, wow, I am actually an author.
Wow. I love it. I love that book and I love the energy of it. I don't have it here right now.
I
Uh,
can hold it up.
yeah, it is like, it always speaks to me. And I get it, even in the Access Traveling Show, right? Where I always play, a lot of times play with, that people look at it, but it is always like, yes, no, yes, no. You know, even before we touch a book and open it, it talks to us. And
Yes.
some people are just like, wow, that. And I love it. And we haven't spoken a lot about Clara. So I really wanted to, in this interview, to bring Clara to life and that everyone knows about her. So tell us a little bit more about Clara, please.
Well, I think one of the interesting parts of the book, it's actually, I think all the characters are women in this book. It's just something, and I'm not really sure how that occurred. It wasn't, but it is, like, the president is a woman, the police is a woman, like all of them are. But I think what it all started by this, I wanted to have a person who could embody that move of change, because the whole book is like during one day in her life, from when she wakes up in the morning and how she continuously chooses to move on, take one step more, and she never gives up, she never gives in, and she never stops, and she just keeps going throughout this book and changes things all around, things that people don't think is possible to change. She convinces people to come along, you know, in her journey for climate change. And she isn't really, I think she mainly embodies the choice of change in there. She lives with her mom, who's very occupied by all her machines and things she has to do. And Clara knows that, and she's like, well, you know, there are different possibilities. But it's, the whole point is for the reader to kind of come along on this journey with Clara and see what happens. So yeah, that's my best description.
And
The funniest character in the book, though, for
yeah,
me, is actually the angry lady. That's my favorite character of them all. And there's a really angry lady who loves her cars and has a lot of factories, and she wants to defend her right to drive a car. And she's very angry and kind of hits people with her briefcase and things like that. And I really, really enjoy the angry lady. I
and
enjoy reading it too.
I love that there's so many characters and oh yeah, you know, they have really character. I mean, yeah, it's not just a book written by one, yeah, a one time. How do you say that? you know, a story just from one person's
Yeah.
point of view. And Katarina, what is this book? If the book could talk right now, right? What is the book inviting us to? In which world? What to look at? What questions to ask?
I would really say that I don't know if I knew that when I wrote it, but for me now, this book is really about that we create our future by our choices. And that if you're reading it to a kid, that's what you're showing the kid. Like your choices, your continuous choices is going to create your future. And you can create anything if you're willing to choose and continue to choose. But that's really what this book is about, the power of choice and the power of keep choosing. Okay, well, this didn't work. Well, then I'm going to choose this, and then I'm going to choose this, and then keep moving. And by that, really changing the world and creating a different future, whatever that is for you.
And how do we find out what works for us, Katarina? How do we know? You know, Clara, and the climate changes, like the climate. How can I change the climate? Me, little Fatma, how do I do that? Right? Or how do we go there?
Well, I don't even know if it's about it. It can be about the climate, but it can be about anything. Like, how do we know? Well, I think if we go to the book, like there are many, many, many ways to answer that question. But if we go to the book, the one thing that Clara does in the book is that she actually follows her knowing. Like she has a knowing of what she knows going to change. She already knows that, but then she's willing to receive information and help from people around her. So I would say that the way, if you want to change the world, whatever that looks like for you, Fatma, is to like tap into what you truly know, but then also be willing to receive from information, help, support, ideas from everything and everyone around you. And she's not doing this on her own in the book. Like there's lots of people helping her all along the way, and that's really part of it too. Like it's not her against the world, it's really her pulling all these people to her that assist her on this.
I love that part. We don't have to do it alone.
No, you don't, you don't have to do it alone. That's also not, it's way more fun to do it together with other people. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for Clara. Thank you for that. And let me ask you a different question now. Are there any new books in creation? And what are you working right now on?
I'm working on a few books. But there's one book in creation right now that's being illustrated, which is a third book in the series. We have a series with the Baby Unicorn Manifesto, the Baby Dragon Manifesto, and there's actually one more manifesto coming out very soon.
This is the
And that
first
book
time
is
that everybody hears about it here.
and that book is being illustrated at the moment. So within a few months, probably that book will come out. So that's very exciting. And then I'm writing on 3 different books. One book for kind of young people that is called Nova the Spy. And then I'm writing on a novel that I'm not going to tell you what it's called.
Okay.
And
But
then
now, oh
also,
my God, I hate that. Now I'm curious. I cannot sleep anymore.
and then we're also working on a follow-up to the Being You Changing the World book. So there's a lot of things in motion. And I would say in ACP in general, there's so many books in motion all the time. And then things change and move as they do, and keep choosing. I mean, being an author, so much is about this choice to sit down and write. Like really choosing to write, choosing to see what shows up, and then choosing again to go back there and see what shows up the next day. So that's a lot of that is also what there's space for right now. So I would invite everyone to explore this if writing is something they like.
I like it. And is the book translated already in different languages, or will it be? And is there an audio book available?
No, well, actually, a lot of the unicorn and dragon books are translated. Clara is probably being translated into Swedish, since it's in English, and also a few other languages. So we're working on that. But what I would like to invite everyone to, if you got interested in Clara, is that on my homepage, katarinawallentin.com, you can actually go there, sign up, and you can have me read the whole book to you for free. So go there and sign up and have a book reading with me.
I like that. What a gift. Thank you so much. Thank you, Katarina. Thank you.
Bye for now. And
bye for now. I loved it. I would like to start reading now. And yeah, and I'm waiting. We're all waiting for all the new books, for all the new creations that come. And thank you for being my guest here today. Mwah!
goodbye.
Bye.